The very beginning takes place on the day of the awakening, at the local high school. The main character, Lu Yan, hopes to awaken as a mage or warrior to guarantee his survival. At that moment, a student says the best choice is a summoner. However, he is labeled a creep right after. Lu Yan ponders that 6 years have passed since his reincarnation into this reality. With great determination, he decides that today he will change his own future and that of his sister, Luli. It turns out that, 1 century ago, void portals appeared on Earth in a terrifying way. Because of this, a gigantic number of monsters showed up, attacking everyone mercilessly. After 1 decade of studies, humanity managed to use this energy to unlock attributes upon turning 18 years old. This way, for the first time, people could fight on equal footing against the beasts. In this hostile world, his sister Luli protected Lu Yan and both lived together for 6 years. Since she was his only relative, she ended up suffering severe injuries some time ago. All this only happened because she tried to protect our hero's life. For this reason, he needs to awaken a combat-focused class to acquire the healing fluid. Back to the present moment, the teacher demands speed and calls the next student for the exam. The instructor tells the young girl to stay calm and place her hand on the awakening platform. This way, the machine shines brightly and confirms that she obtained a combat class focused on magic. The crowd is surprised by the young girl's good luck, ensuring that her future is guaranteed. Next, a boy cries upon realizing he awakened only as a support pharmacist. Lu Yan looks at the scene and deduces that, without a battle class, the chances of triumph are practically zero. Then, the teacher shouts Lu Yan's name, who immediately responds to the call. Some students start making fun of him, labeling the young man as useless and criticizing his effort. They go on to say that an auditing student with poor health could never awaken anything positive. The young man is fully aware that regular students have valuable resources, unlike auditing ones. Even with such a disadvantage, he remains confident and understands that it is no time to back down. The young man mentally asks his sister to wait and firmly places his hand on the awakening stone. Immediately, the platform responds and starts radiating a very enigmatic greenish light. Right after, an immense column of dark energy shoots into the sky, leaving everyone perplexed. Students and instructors cover their faces, totally in disbelief at the scene. The teacher's jaw drops, concluding that such a gigantic aura could only belong to a rare class. Even with low expectations, everyone confirms that the stone shined and that the young man achieved a great success. The system finally announces that Lu Yan earned the battle class called Necromancer. He gives a sigh of relief, contenting himself with at least having obtained a fighting-oriented class. The instructor checks the information and considers him lucky, but regrets the fact that it is a very weak class. Lu Yan is aware that the literature teaches that necromancers are the weakest fighters. The reason is that their summons are slow, extremely fragile, and inflict very low damage. Furthermore, it is very risky for the summoner to get close to the confrontation, making leveling up difficult. To make matters worse, there are few individuals with this class, which causes a lack of skills. However, our MC does not care about the bad reputation, since he now has the means to heal his sister. Suddenly, the hero widens his eyes upon noticing something very unusual on his panel. A window appears notifying that a support system has been initiated and brings a valuable reward. The young man is perplexed to note that his physical weakness over these 6 years was caused by the system. He can hardly believe his energy was drained for so long without him even suspecting it. Then, the system grants a new opportunity to awaken a different class. Waiting for his choice, Lu Yan notices this might give him an extremely rare hidden class, something possessed by very few in the world. Without hesitating, he reaches out his hand and agrees to the system's offer in a very determined way. At the same instant, the educators talk backstage about the peculiar performance of the students. One of them reports that it is already an extraordinary feat for a simple auditing student to earn a battle class. The other educator agrees. However, he brags about having 20 fighters in his classroom. The rival laughs upon discovering that the opposing class was only able to form 16 combatants. The tension between the instructors rises, with exchanges of insults about the results of the upcoming tests. Suddenly, a strong glow takes over the environment, and they notice someone awakened the warrior class. The female student emanates a bluish energy, showing a gift that appears only once every 10 years. One teacher thought the intense light came from the auditing student from before, but he is just a necromancer. They conclude it would be unfeasible for a double, awakening legend to appear in their school on that day. However, our hero hears everything and realizes he is about to break all the rules. A gigantic shadowy figure appears behind him, exposing the monarch of the undead class. Lu Yan smiles brightly, knowing he obtained a totally unique and exclusive power on the planet. The instructor, unable to see the system, orders the young man to leave the stage quickly to get his reward. Without drawing attention, the MC politely agrees with the teacher and steps off the platform. Walking alone, he decides to check his attribute panel to see his newly acquired skills. The first technique frightens opponents, immediately cutting their attack and defense in half. The second innate ability lets the monarch absorb the enemy's energy to become more powerful. Finally, the third skill allows him to lead an immense and limitless army of skeletons. The young man gives a huge smile, completely fascinated with the amount of strength he has achieved. The system informs him that daily missions have been unlocked to assist in his swift development. Reflecting on the tasks, the hero walks calmly to the institution's collection area. He reviews the 100 push-ups and the other daily missions, considering it all a piece of cake. With a very ambitious attitude, the young man mentally decides to collect all the rewards he can get. The clerk welcomes Lu Yan and gives him a supplement along with 100,000 coins for his battle class. In a hurry, the young man asks if he can trade it all for an advanced level healing potion. The guy does the math and confirms the trade is fair, covering the exact price of the medicine. However, the man warns him that the exams will take place in 3 days and he is taking a loss. Lu Yan ignores the warning and authorizes the exchange, having faith that the missions will prepare him in time. He grabs the healing potion and the change, feeling relieved to finally have a way to cure his injured sister. With everything settled, the hero starts walking. Since there are 2 hours left before he sees the young woman, Lu Yan begins his arduous physical training right away. He executes several push-ups on the ground, giving it his best. The young man continues doing squats, noticing his body's weak. Focused on protecting Luli, he practices weightlifting. Finally, the hero concludes the set of 100 reps completely exhausted. He takes a deep breath, wishing to obtain all 3 alternatives from the panel. At this moment, the system notifies him that he has triggered a very rare choice. The young man focuses his gaze on the monitor, feeling very curious. The system shows the attribute points he has the chance to redeem. The MC smiles confidently upon seeing that opportunity. He does not hesitate and quickly clicks on the floating screen. Full of enthusiasm, he chooses to receive all the rewards. Lu Yan is aware of how complex it is to get attribute points. Ordinary people need to ingest high-cost supplements for such a feat. The other alternative would be to track and eliminate dangerous beasts. However, the hero manages to acquire the points just through workouts. He thinks that the capabilities of the undead are already excellent. Therefore, he decides to invest the points into his own physical stamina. A powerful energy covers his body, boosting his stat. In order to check the result, he clenches his fist near a tree. The young man throws a very strong punch, shattering the wood's bark. Lu Yan cracks a smile upon realizing that his development will be 10 times greater. Suddenly, an announcement at the school catches everyone's attention. The principal informs over the public address system that the tests will become more complex. The students complain about their bad luck and decide to pay for additional coaching. The young man brushes off the warning, knowing that the daily missions are enough. His top priority right now is to use the prize to heal Luli. At that instant, an audio alert indicates he has obtained a magic book. He grabs the mystical object, ready to assimilate the new skill. A strong dark energy quickly absorbs the knowledge. The hero is surprised by the light radiating from his own chest. A dark and grandiose armor appears, outlining his body. He did not count on unlocking a technique of epic rarity. The system thoroughly explains the defense stats of the brand new armor. The display clarifies the complete hierarchy of magic categories in that world. The shadowy barrier defends against any attack coming from weaker beings. If the defense is flawless, the strike is reflected back to the aggressor. The young man presses the screen, choosing to invest more points into this skill. Lu Yan notes that, with this active protection, it will be impossible to defeat him. Thrilled, the MC mentally promises to turn their future around. Right after, the boy reaches the city's large medical center. From the hallway, he hears the high cost being charged for the expenses. Dr. Wong holds the clipboard, demanding payment from the injured patient. The doctor adjusts his glasses, warning that the prices will go up. Lily grips the bed covers, totally saddened and in silence. The doctor gives a wicked smile, proposing that she offer herself to wealthy men. He suggests the young woman's beauty would easily clear the debts. The girl ignores the proposition and asks him to focus on his job. Lu Yan enters the room full of rage, ordering the doctor to settle the bill immediately. The hero throws the credit card right into the man's face. The doctor holds his face in disbelief, asking where the boy's fortune came from. Lu Yan hands over the healing potion, demanding it be administered to his sister. Lily smiles with relief, asking if he was able to awake. The young man nods with a loving look, getting closer to the bed. He holds her hands, conveying a lot of confidence and affection. The girl scolds her brother for wasting his essential resources. The MC remembers that, in the past, she made the same sacrifice. Lily looks at the boy very sweetly, touched by his action. The doctor ruins the mood by laughing upon discovering the kid became a necromancer. The guy prepares the syringe, making fun of that fragile battle class. The doctor labels him as arrogant for possessing a magic seen as useless. Lu Yan does not listen, judging it more appropriate to hide a secret class for now. The doctor injects the substance while the sister tries to comfort the boy. The hero smiles, assuring he will get a great result on the test. The doctor lets go of the equipment, letting out a laugh of total disdain. The adult uses sarcasm, stating it is pathetic for a necromancer to aim for a passing grade. Suddenly, the room's door is kicked wide open with enormous violence. Subordinates push the doctor, and a well-dressed lady enters the premises. The lady stares at the young man, confirming our MC's identity. She introduces herself as Wang Feng, a local prodigy recruiter. The woman, puffing on a cigarette, invites the boy to join the guild. Lu Yan is aware that this faction operates in a very shady manner. The organization is known for punishing without mercy and has a terrible reputation. Maintaining an unshakable posture, the hero instantly rejects the proposal. The recruiter uses irony, recalling that necromancers are very weak individuals. The woman justifies that her guild has the capability to provide superior medical care to heal the girl. However, the hero refuses once more and declares that getting into a good college is the priority right now. He is fully aware that a college's educational tools are better than the offers of any faction in the region. Furthermore, the young man is absolutely convinced that the instructor's strength would be capable of destroying that organization. The doctor listens to the conversation and starts laughing, considering it madness for a mere necromancer to aim for a spot at the university. The doctor keeps mocking the context, recalling that 2 orphans without financial resources have no means to raise their stats. At this moment, the woman gets annoyed and her 2 henchmen cock their weapons, ready to punish the insolent young man. The individuals advance with full force, commanding the boy's capture, while his sister screams desperately for caution. Without losing his cool, our MC quickly activates his dark armor, and a shadowy energy covers his body. The henchman strikes hard with his heavy weaponry against the hero's magic energy barrier. However, the assault is completely stopped by the impenetrable protection, and the collision sends purplish sparks flying everywhere. The 2 attackers are absolutely shocked to notice their weapons failed to break the shield. With a frightening expression and eyes glowing blue, the boy faces his opponents, warning them that they crossed the line. The mystical force concentrates even more, generating a tough shield around him and scaring the aggressors. The brawlers break into a cold sweat and take steps back, realizing they completely underestimated the student's strength. The recruiter also drops her jaw and tries to understand what kind of absurd skill the young man used to protect himself so effectively. The hero watches the energy fade and understands he activated the defense too early, failing to generate the flawless block. Watching the skill vanish, the subordinates regain their courage, thinking the young man relied on temporary luck. Immediately after, one of the henchmen charges mercilessly and infuses his heavy weapon with a strong blue light. The guy unleashes an intense strike towards the student, with the clear purpose of ending the battle right there. The young man quickly dodges the attack and evaluates that he needs to sync the technique's perfect timing to win the fight. Without retreating, the attacker keeps striking brutally and warns that there are no escape routes for the hero. With enormous dexterity, our MC jumps backward, narrowly escaping an attack that shatters the medical center's floor. He analyzes the scenario and is certain that his current fragile body could not withstand taking any of those hits full force. For this reason, the boy deduces his only chance of triumph is to intercept both enemies simultaneously. Noticing there is no way to match their speed, the kid decides to force the opponents to attack at the same time. Without a doubt, Luyan shifts his defensive stance and quickly charges with his dark energy activated once again. Amidst the fast movement, he seizes the opportunity and nimbly pulls out a dagger to use in a counterattack. With a swift gesture, the student makes a direct advance against the subordinates, causing an instant response from them. The henchmen fall for the tactic and land their strike together, thinking they finally cornered the bold kid in the room's edge. Keeping control of the situation, the MC gives a defiant smile and asks if that is the organization's maximum power. The taunt has the desired effect, making the attackers furious, while the young man focuses on the precise moment to defend. The 2 guys scowl with pure spite and set up a ruthless double attack against the hero. They jump full of rage with their weapons raised while shouting insults, aiming to punish the young man for good. With his gaze locked on the danger, Luyan takes a breath and patiently waits for the final split seconds to act. At the exact moment the weapons are about to hit him, the boy's eyes shine, showing that the ideal occasion has arrived. He unleashes his entire magic suddenly, and the imposing black protection appears instantly around his body. The flawless defense is successfully triggered, creating a shockwave that sends all the damage straight back to the opponents. Due to the colossal collision, the 2 brawlers are violently thrown backward and feel the pain of their own strike. Taking advantage of the opening, our MC quickly goes toward one of the downed subordinates to wrap up the fight. Surrounded by the frightening energy, the hero overpowers the attacker and sternly commands them to get out of there. In order to ensure the message was understood, he stumps hard on the defeated opponent, showing complete superiority in the clash. The henchmen get on their feet full of shame and swear payback for that unpredictable loss against a mere student. Before the mess gets worse, the recruiter raises her angry voice and orders her lackeys to stop the humiliation. The guys stare at the boss absolutely shocked and disoriented by the sudden retreat order. The lady looks at the boy coldly and warns that her faction will never forget the insult they suffered that day. Without wasting any more time, she turns her back and commands her subordinates to follow her out of the medical center immediately. Luyan watches the adversaries retreat in silence while his strong black armor slowly disappears. In the building's outdoor area, the vibe remains tense due to the severe clash that just took place in the room. On the public street, one of the lackeys asks the leader if they are really going to let the young man walk away without punishment after everything that happened. The commander scolds the guys, highlighting the humiliation they suffered and recalling that the medical center was not the proper environment for conflicts. She lights her cigarette to ease the tension and starts plotting a new strategy to face the insolent student. With a terrible idea in mind, the lady orders another subordinate to be called in to worsen the MC's sister's situation during the test. The lackey gives a wicked smile upon understanding the unfair scheme his commander wants to use to coerce the boy. With great certainty, the villain assures that anyone who gets in the crosshairs of her feared guild cannot escape her grasp. Returning to the hospital room, the environment finally becomes calm and safe after the intense fight with the criminal faction. The girl asks in fascination about the boy's formidable shield, and he plays it off, stating it was a rare prize from his awakening. However, the girl's expression changes, and she admits to being quite distressed about the consequences of defying that dangerous faction. Trying to calm her down, The young man holds the girl's hands very affectionately and gives her all the reassurance she needs. He gives a smile and swears he will get a magnificent result on the test, assuring the guild will never have the audacity to bother them again. Having the goal well defined in his head, our hero focuses entirely on the duty of protecting his dear sister for the next 3 days. On the first day, the hero exercises intensely, performing push-ups with the girl on his back and finishing the system's daily tasks. The second day dawns and the young man remains tireless in his body workouts, securing more prizes and progressing continuously. Upon reaching the third day, Luyan uses a tree branch to finish the heavy routine and earns more valuable points. After much sweat and effort, he lets go of the tree branch, feeling the fatigue, but also the reward of his non-stop dedication. The student looks at his own hands and notices with great satisfaction that his muscles are much more toned and strong at this moment. He checks the magic panel and gets a bit bummed out that the special point, doubling promo did not show up again. Brushing off the frustration, he uses his finger to allocate the newly received stats, prioritizing his physical stamina. The boy understands that improving his own power and vigor is the most guaranteed route to ensure his survival. Clenching his hand with great firmness, he promises that today's admission test will make everyone look at him with reverence. Meanwhile, at the medical center's door, certain members of the criminal faction watch the place, waiting for the ideal time to act. The lookout quickly calls the recruiter, warning that the target just left the building to enter the important exam. Upon hearing the info, the woman lets out an evil smile and delegates the task for her most cruel lackey to carry out the scheme. The assigned henchman sits arrogantly while smoking, showing an attitude full of cruelty and great self-confidence. With a terrifying expression on his face, the guy gets ready to enter the room and inflict the greatest pain imaginable on the girl. On the day of the important test, the students show up at the school ready for the exam. The teacher announces over the microphone that everyone will enter the secret domain shortly. The man assures that the system will safeguard everyone's life during the fights. Next, he instructs the students to grab the basic tools for the assessment. In the middle of the crowd, a very self-assured student says he needs to rank in the top 10. Luyan hears the dialogue and gives a very enthusiastic smile regarding the ordeal. The hero checks his panel, noticing that his stats are formidable. With massive certainty, the MC decides he will aim for first place in the whole school. Suddenly, someone taps our hero's shoulder to get his attention. A classmate makes fun of his class, proposing a consolation job for later. The student keeps bursting with laughter and guarantees that necromancers would never pass the exam. Luyan ignores the classmate's insult and walks over to collect his items. He evaluates the staff and the wooden shield, considering the stats quite weak. The young man grabs 2 skill books, noticing they are pretty ordinary spells. The first ability lets him summon only 2 simple skeleton warriors. The second book, in turn, teaches a fast attack magic for his summons. At this moment, a system notification pops up, warning that the skills will be upgraded. The magic monitor announces that both techniques have risen to a higher tier. Right now, the student can summon much more powerful and faster elite warriors. The rage magic also drastically boosts his troop speed. The MC smiles in fascination upon noticing his innate ability upgrades the items. He checks the information, noticing the skeleton stats have increased a lot. The rage manual glows, proving the spell's result has become absurd now. Happy with the results, the boy walks around the area wielding the new powers. With such enhancements, he estimates he will finish the test in unprecedented time. The hero clenches his fist, certain he will reach first place. Immediately after, the teacher looks at his watch, proclaiming the decisive hour. A giant dark portal forms on the stage, allowing the students to enter. The system explains that the test takes place in a swamp and has 3 difficulty levels. The other students are baffled by the macabre theme and are terrified of the undead monsters. They tremble with dread, aware there is little information regarding that swamp. Luyan gives a huge smile, realizing the swamp is his perfect environment. His system reminds him that his passive ability affects undead beasts. Having this colossal advantage, the MC estimates the assessment will be much faster. Without hesitating, the young man steps into the portal and selects the nightmare difficulty immediately. Meanwhile, the educators supervise the students through mystical monitors on site. An evaluator points at the screen, shocked by the fact that someone opted for the highest level. The teachers look at the screen and see a fighter wearing very formidable armor. The student strikes the skeletons with ease using his valuable gear. But suddenly, a teacher yells in disbelief upon spotting a mage on the maximum difficulty setting. They argue it is insanity for a fragile mage to venture into the nightmare level so prematurely. The institution's principal walks up, intrigued to find out who the brave student is. The educator accesses the system's document and confirms it is Luyan in there. The principal is absolutely astounded to notice it is just an auditing student. He questions the teacher in charge of the class, looking for some justification. The instructor breaks into a cold sweat and tries to explain himself, claiming the young man wants to show off. In his mind, the educator gets furious, thinking the student will make everyone look like fools. The principal disregards the excuse and keeps staring at the monitor in absolute silence. Inside the secret domain, our hero studies the new scenery around him. The boy walks calmly through the shallow waters of the undead swamp. The test timer starts ticking and the MC lifts his focused gaze. The system informs that the completion time is worth precious points for the final grade. Suddenly, the swamp's water begins to boil in a very macabre way. The bubbles grow fast, showing there are hidden beasts in the area. 2 terrifying skeleton fighters emerge from the water ready to attack. The beasts charge growling and displaying a level 5 savage power immediately. The hero maintains absolute tranquility, without showing any sign of fear. He extends his finger and fires a dark lightning bolt, declaring the beasts are weak. At the same instant, the mystical technique hits the opponents, lowering their stats. Taking advantage of the opening, the boy summons his own elite fighters. The superior skeletons destroy the enemy beasts with a single savage strike. Lu Yan walks, stepping hard on his opponent's shattered bones. A purplish smoke rises from the remains of the bodies and is absorbed by our hero's body. The system triggers an alarm and announces he just ascended to level 4. The young man widens his eyes, perplexed to notice he received more attribute points. Without hesitating, he touches the mystical monitor to allocate his power. An imposing energy surrounds the young man, raising his own strength in fights. Suddenly, he hears other noises in the water and turns around to face the danger. A massive flock of furious skeletons comes out of the swamp waters right after. Quickly, the hero firmly grips his glowing wooden staff right there. He flashes a confident smile, stating the enemies arrived at the ideal time. With a fast gesture, the student swings the weapon with extreme violence in the air. The fierce hit strikes the initial monster right on, destroying its shield. The strike's impact generates a shockwave that annihilates several opponents all at once. With eyes glowing in a bluish tint, the monarch gets ready to lay waste to the whole area. The boy's violent skill entirely obliterates the opponents, tossing their bones everywhere. At that moment, the system communicates he has leveled up to 5, displaying the stats he earned right away. Wasting no time, the MC uses the points to greatly boost his strength and intelligence on the spot. The boy calmly ponders that a nightmare difficulty environment must possess bigger hurdles than those. Suddenly, a colossal skeleton appears from the dark waters, letting out a horrifying roar at the young man. Our hero narrows his eyes, analyzing the new threat with a coldness capable of instilling a lot of fear. The system monitor warns it is a level 7 skeleton captain, with very toxic strike. The young man smiles upon realizing the creature has intellect, and that is ideal to put another technique to the test. Quite enraged, the commander advances holding a gigantic bone sword, wishing to slice the student. With enormous dexterity, Lu Yan dodges the heavy attack, making the monster miss the strike in a humiliating way. Excited, the MC going to annoy the beast a bit, readying his dark magic. A beam of black light emerges from the staff and hits the commander squarely, completely destroying its protection. Capitalizing on the opportunity, the elite skeletons attack together, crushing the adversary with violent blows. The big guy falls to his knees in the water, definitively defeated by the perfect power of the summoned army. The student approaches calmly and grabs the enemy's skull to try out his magic ability. With the skill activated, the boy's hand radiates purple fire, draining all the strength present in the monster. The dark fire engulfs the whole skull while the hero absorbs the energy in a formidable way. The skull turns to dust and falls into the water, confirming that the beast's attribute absorption was flawless. The monitor pops up notifying that these soul pieces are useful to upgrade unique abilities. Lu Yan gives an excited smile upon finding the secret method to improve his rare innate powers. He figures that, the more powerful beasts he defeats, the higher the amount of collected fragments will be. Surrounded by the purple light, the MC declares that everyone in the area will only serve as a stepping stone for his advancement. Meanwhile, outside, the entire institution follows the test through the monitors, with tempers flaring. An outraged student points at the monitor, questioning if it is feasible for a fragile boy to summon elite fighters like that. The educator agrees in disbelief, acknowledging the boy's rare gift and regretting not noticing it earlier. On the other hand, the principal smiles full of pride at the scene, mocking the competing instructor who underestimated the auditing student too soon. The nervous teacher retorts that the boy must have abused physical stats to appear powerful. He guarantees a necromancer should not focus on strength, affirming the student ruined his own tomorrow. The man keeps complaining, labeling the young man's choice as idiotic and temporary throughout that test. The principal maintains his calm posture, replying that if the kid is the best, the sacrifices will have paid off. Returning to the swamp, Lu Yan emanates an absurd energy, sucking in countless souls from the entire nearby region. A colossal cyclone of purple magic ascends to the heavens, while the MC collects a sea of fragments. With that, the monitor blinks intensely, notifying he leveled up to 8 in the blink of an eye. The young man wraps up the procedure out of breath, noticing that draining all of that demanded a lot from his physique. At that moment, the panel congratulates him for the feat and announces the unlock of a unique and fatal magic scythe. The system explains the weapon ignores any defense and absurdly increases damage for 1 full minute. Lu Yan is surprised to verify that the skill's stats can be doubled, creating a godlike attack force. Suddenly, the young man hears heavy noises in the water and turns around, facing the next obstacle seriously. The noise grows as a massive troop of monster knights charges in galloping through the shallow water. The system warns they are level 9 undead knights, with an absurd collision power approaching. In the institution's bleachers, the teachers are in a state of shock watching hundreds of beasts attacking at the same time. The wicked teacher lets out an evil laugh, assuring the kid's arrogance will end right there. However, in the secret realm, our hero smiles confidently, ready to do a complete cleanup. He grips the staff and stares at the opposing troop, declaring that all that tension is nothing more than a game. Letting out a battle cry, the MC activates intimidation and a colossal shadowy skull takes over the entire place. The frightening force hits the troop that very second, cutting their attack and protection in half instantly. At the same moment, Lu Yan summons the terrifying Dark Scythe, heading for the direct clash for good. In the blink of an eye, he takes down the frontline opponent with a single transverse slash of pure sorcery. The boy charges in like a hurricane, annihilating everything that crosses his path and splitting the horses in half. The knights are tossed into the air without having any chance of escaping the mystical scythe's colossal damage. The hero leaps around the environment, continuously slashing the monsters, proving who really controls the area. Even defeating several, he notices the opposing troop applies a strategy to surround him gradually. Spotting the ambush, the student creates some distance, falling back a bit to focus on destroying the enemy strategy quickly. With a calculating expression, he decides to break the opponent's spears all at once to wipe out their advantage. The boy waits for the troop to close in, starting a silent countdown as the weapons get closer. At the precise millisecond, the hero widens a terrifying eye, showing that the beasts were fooled. He activates the fantastic defense, and the familiar dark armor wraps around his body, releasing a gigantic flash. The flawless block deflects the spears, generating a powerful detonation that shatters the monster's weapons. A magic stone floats up and the system notifies that the collection of all 100 fragments was completed right then. The monarch ends the combat entirely without injuries, laughing victoriously upon securing his enormous energy reserve. Lu Yan looks at the glowing soulstone in his hand, showing gratitude for having the necessary tools for the assessment. With a ruthless attitude, he commands his elite soldiers to move forward to clean up the rest of the mess. The summoned troop attacks violently, taking down all the remaining knights in the swamp for good. The young man walks calmly, slicing up any stubborn one that tries to get past his powerful fighters. In the physical world, the students tremble in fear, absolutely baffled by a necromancer fighting into hand combat. The MC deactivates the technique and sits on the ground out of breath, realizing his weak body reached its limit. He admits he has no energy left and needs to rest before moving on to the final stage of the challenge. The system indicates that level 9 has been reached, and he spends the points on physical strength to withstand the impact. The boy gets near a colossal cave, wanting to hurry up, since his exclusive weapons time limit is almost up. He walks down the unlit hallways, finding the lack of guards or lesser monsters in the place completely weird. The student pushes forward on high alert as blue flames light up on the walls, brightening the enigmatic trail. Way in the back, he spots a huge hall with a stone throne, confirming the boss is waiting at the end of the path. The colossal creature in golden armor opens its reddish eyes, waking up from a very long rest. The commander slowly rises from the throne, holding a mythical spear and emanating a completely lethal force. The screen finally displays that the deadly Skeleton King is the grand challenge that will determine the MC's fate in the test. Lu Yan flashes a very excited smile, considering the whole situation extremely fascinating. Wielding his scythe very firmly, the MC asks if that is the final opponent of the exam.